remember, we will be posting this session in our Innovative Learning YouTube channel when it becomes available. Other than that, please type your questions into the chat, and welcome to our presenters.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Rebecca.
Yes, presenting.
Yes. We have 45 minutes, guys, so it's going to be a little bit fast and furious. And I know secondary teachers are, they're used to getting information and then we process it a little bit later. But like, Rebecca was saying, you have any questions, put them in the chat box. And, we're going to take you through some data tracking tools, and so you guys can explore. That's mainly our presentation here, but we also want to provide you with a little bit of background information, some literature, and all of that you're going to be getting in that bit.ly. So you'll be getting the PowerPoint, you'll be gaining any literature that we just that we came across, and a lot of it is coming from your Raise Your Hand Texas. Okay, so if you could just go ahead and start putting in your thoughts on the Nearpod. That way we can start getting everything underway. Okay, so this is kind of like a little KWL.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my camera so you don't see me, because I'm going to be presenting and I don't look all weird staring at an empty camera screen. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and I'll start presenting the PowerPoint. And later you'll hear Lydia go click because I'm controlling it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. Okay, Lydia.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, so the first thing about this presentation is I'm kind of having you do a little bit of pre-work, I'm getting some data from you through Nearpod. So this information, and we already went through that slide right there. This information is to to track some data, right? So I know some of us use a Nearpod, but I kind of wanted to show you how we can probably do this like online. I was telling Terry that this would be great for teachers that are like co-teaching. So when one drives, the other one's, talking and stuff. So this is like another example of us, going through that particular process of co-teaching using the Nearpod. So I already have some data, okay, on there. I'm going to have like maybe another 30 seconds just to have it in there. And then we're going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and move you on to the next part of the Nearpod. So it's just getting information from you guys. And another 20 seconds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move it along. Okay. And now you should have another screen. And you're going to have about 45 seconds to answer this prompt right here. And you can select more than one. Okay, I see a lot of little dots popping up. Great, that's awesome. Okay, so that kind of already probably timed you out. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you guys. Do you guys see it?
Let me stop sharing. Lydia.
We don't see
on the Nearpod. Oh. You should have been seeing it on the actual.
Okay, they are seeing it, but we're not seeing it here on the Meet. So you might want to
Okay.
share your screen
Okay.
here. So we
I
can
will
see.
go ahead and do that. That way you guys can see what the teacher sees, right?
Mhm.
All right. Can you see my screen, guys?
Oh, it's coming up.
There we go, Lydia.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so this is what you would see as a teacher. And I just had to click here to share, and if I do click here, it goes back to normal, you know, where you don't see all of this. So this is telling me my students, which is you guys, and it's telling me what you picked as far as what the tools that you're most familiar with. Okay, so I'm just gathering that particular set of data in this part right here. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and move you along. And you should have a little quiz on your end. Yes?
Thank you for having thumbs up.
Okay. So go ahead and start answering. I'm going to go ahead and unshare. Well, maybe I'm just going to hold on because I don't know if it's going to pop up right now if you're incorrect class. Yeah, it is going to do it. I'm going to stop presenting. And I need you guys to go ahead and finish your test right there. And on my end, I'll be able to know when you guys are finished when I see everybody answered all those 5 questions.
I see everybody is working on it, Lydia.
Awesome. Thank you.
They no longer have access to the quiz.
What? Okay, let me go back. Is that happening now?
Let's see. No.
No?
It took them to the end.
Okay.
They got access for a few seconds
Okay.
and then it reset them.
Okay. Are they able to come back and log in again? I wonder if that
Okay,
picks
it's
it
on
up.
It's
again.
on.
It's on
Diana
again.
says it's on again.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, and I'm seeing the answers populate. Okay, I'm going to give you about another 30 seconds. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and if I press share, do you guys see the results there or no?
We don't,
You don't see anything?
I'm not in the Nearpods, so.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to come back and present really quick. That way you guys kind of see the teacher version.
Everybody sees their own results.
Oh my, okay, that's great. Okay. So as a teacher, this is what you're seeing, right? So I can see that, question 1 is, okay, everybody is awesome. Everybody has it. Question 2, I know that these 2 students might need some work. Question 3 here, and then these right here, you probably run out of time. Okay, so this is the data that I'm seeing here as a teacher, okay? So what I just did right now is I just gathered that data, and we're going to come back to it in a little while here. If you want to go to the PowerPoint, Terry, Ms. Terry.
Okay.
And notice that I didn't discuss anything with you. I didn't discuss any of the questions. We just said, okay, this is it. Because now we're going to do that teaching. And hopefully when we do that teaching, when we go back to the polls, now we're going to see, okay, you know what? Did the answers change? And that's just one strategy that you can use to see if, 1, how your students are progressing, and 2, if it's going to be, a reteach or what's going to happen with that data after you do it the second time. So our objective today is we're going to be discussing and exploring multiple data tracking sources to implement in the blended learning classroom so that students are able to demonstrate academic growth and mastery. So one question for you here, and this is where you can just chat in the box, is how do you define student progress? We can get some answers here on the chat box.
I'm so glad that Caitlin Tucker talked about
Oh, yes.
rating and progress.
The current standard is growth, is what Thomas says.
Okay, can you elaborate on that a little bit, Mr. Ornelas?
Sure. It was always things that were set. There were set things. I guess our traditional is a grade book and grades and GPAs and grade levels. But now we're looking at picking up children where they're at and moving them forward based on growth. So they may take 3 or 4 years to catch up on 1 year of growth, but at least we can monitor their progress, that they're growing along the way, that they're eventually catching up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sandra's comment is kind of along that lines. It says, using a baseline, are students moving upward in showing improvement of growth?
Awesome. Yes. That
Diana,
goes along with what Mr. Ornelas said.
yes. Diana said, indication that student has learned a new skill. And Mr. Plunk has improvement over time, grade level to grade level, or within a grading period to grading period.
Okay, perfect. Yes. And is this the same thing as academic achievement? How do we define academic achievement then?
Well, Vanessa's comment kind of hits that. It says student progress when a student can explain, teach, and or demonstrate their learning performance over time.
Awesome. Very good. So I think, we get that that feel for it, and, and just like Terry said, when Caitlin touched upon that, it smoothly goes in with our presentation here, that there is a difference between student progress and academic achievement. But if we start them where we're at that baseline and move them up, then it becomes their own. So, Terry?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about this slide. If you're a teacher here or as an administrator, this is just so that you guys can see that the T-test alignment to it. It's falling under the planning domain and an instruction domain, and it covers the teacher. In case you're looking at the T-test goals, this is something that is definitely falling in place with our blended learning teachers, so we can help them with that particular planning domain and instruction domain from T-TEST. Okay.
Okay, so one of the things that Raise Your Hand Texas says in the blended learning is that data allows teachers to unlock the full potential of student-centered learning. Without accurate and actionable data, teachers are unable to deeply personalize instruction because they lack immediate and comprehensive knowledge about each student. And that's what happens when we have such a high stake testing state. I mean, everything centers around the star. The star. We hear about the star world, and that's all it is. But is it really learning? And we hear from our students, we hear from parents, we hear from our teachers. And we hear from the community. We're just teaching to the test. And we have to do some serious reflection as to, are we willing to go ahead and show progress? The state is forcing us now to go ahead and show progress versus just academic achievements. Because what happens when you have those kids that are already scoring 99s, 99.8, 97.8? I mean, where do those kids go? They still have to have some type of growth. And that goes into this one. The mindset shift around data occurs when data is seen as more than simply an accountability measure, but rather a way to better inform instruction. And the teacher is motivated, believes he or she is capable of, to use that data better to inform teaching and learning. In our district and many districts around the state, we have AWARE. We have our data that surrounds the unit assessments. We have our 9 weeks assessments. And if we don't perform well, we're having the conversation with our leaders. If the principals aren't doing well, their campus isn't, they're having the conversation with their leaders and us as well as instructional leads. So we need to think, when we look at STAR, that's the summative, but what steps are we creating in between, and what data are we using as formative? It could be something simple. We'll talk about exit tickets. Teachers use them, but are they really using them correctly? Okay, is it compliance or is it really to show growth for the student? According to the ISTE standards for educators, being an analyst is one of the identified standards. And this is what they quote: educators understand and use data to drive their instruction and support students in achieving their learning goals by providing alternative ways for students to demonstrate competency and reflect on their learning using technology. And one of the things that we know as educators, we have our students that can but won't. That's the truth. As they start getting older, it's not that they cannot do the work or they cannot demonstrate their learning, it's they refuse to. But at the same time, as we start creating these opportunities and having them take ownership of their own learning goals, I think that's going to go ahead and help them take ownership that away from school's boring. And as educators, how are we using data? Are we using data to punish kids if they don't achieve a certain score? Or are we using it to motivate them to get better? And even if they are the best, how can they get even better? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have you watch a video. It's hard to listen when you're presenting, so I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat box so you can watch it separately. Okay, stop sharing. Go ahead and click on that and watch. It takes about 2.5 minutes for you to watch. thumbs up when you're done watching the video, please. Thank you. That's Joe and Vanessa. So let's go ahead and have a quick discussion. You can turn off your mics. What data tools, tracking tools are we currently using in the classroom? What do we have right now? What are we using? You can just go ahead, either chat it or you can go ahead and unmute your mics.
Hey, Terry, can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, what data tracking tools are we using? Are we currently using in the classroom? What are we using in the classroom? What are we seeing our teachers use in the classroom?
Well, for sure, we use a lot of our data from Aware, from Euphoria, when it comes to our common assessments.
That's probably the most common, right? That's the one we have. And do we have to ask ourselves, are we using it format to show progress, or are we using it to as a summative, as the grade? What is the purpose of using that? It comes as a grade, because really the grade should match the instruction and the growth. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's move on. Okay, Lydia, do you want me to go on with the PowerPoint? Lydia, you're unmuted. You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes. Right now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna show you. Okay, remember that I showed you like, okay, what the teacher saw, that we had some students that didn't get a couple of questions, or one question that was like a highlighted. And so now as a teacher, you know, being that, you know, you present it, the lesson, and you go back and reteach, now we're able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and quiz them again. And I know that question number 2 was the one that was like mostly missed. But notice that I didn't tell you as students that all of the other answers were correct. Okay, so this is like where you can provide time to collaborate as if you have them in groups. or you can have them, go back and just redo an individual self-reflection. And then you can kind of say, okay, you know what? Now we're back to doing this particular quiz again, or, just to see if anything changed. So I'm going to take you through that. And, oops, sorry, that was the wrong thing. Copy the link. That. Okay.
You're showing them the Nearpod again, Lydia?
I'm going to give them the link to taking the poll again.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and put the 10 tracking tools apps. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat box.
So this is the Nearpod. If you guys can click on that one. And you should be able to see that quiz again. Okay. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Okay, all right. I think everybody already finished. So I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And what I'm going to do right now is, are you familiar with how you get your reports from Nearpod? Yes, we're all good with that? Okay. So remember, when you end the session, it sends you an email, right, to your box, and then from there you can kind of see everything in highlighted, everything that the students did, right? Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do now is we'll discuss that a little bit later. Like I said, I know it's a little bit for 45 minutes, guys. We really, are rushing this. But if you can have, if I can have you guys click on the 10 data tracking apps that Terry has put there. And we're going to give you about 10 minutes to browse through those apps. And then we're going to come back and do a little bit of some Q&A, or whatever it is that you saw that caught your eye. Okay, so 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and regroup.
Just to let you know, ladies, there's 10 more minutes for your presentation.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
I came out of the session and now I'm back again. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so I think for the sake of time, I think you've probably seen those apps before. You will have a resource document in the Bitly that has all of these links, so that you're able to go back in and browse those. Okay, so like I said, 45 minutes, we can't do a lot of exploring. However, they're there. Some of them you guys already have probably, like I said, you guys are familiar with, but one of the cool ones that I know I've had is the Go Formative. That's something that I've worked with in the high schools, and it's pretty much a really, really awesome way of tracking the data. And it shows that student growth. It shows that connection between student and teacher, kind of like what Ms. Tucker was saying. You have to get in with it with the students, so that lets you go back and forth with students. Okay, so I definitely recommend going into that one. Okay, all right. So we have about 6 minutes? Yes.
Yes, and just one more thing.
It's about 6
In
minutes.
the Bitly, you'll find a lot of the resources, some articles regarding data. We also put, if you want to share the data, those apps, those tracking apps, the data apps, with your teachers, so they can kind of research and look to see or commit to incorporating one or two maybe into the classroom. That's there for you. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the data that I collected. And once again, this was something that in one of the videos that we're looking on with Blended Learning, a teacher modeled this really, really nicely. And she had her students answer a question, and then she had them, she showed them the results, and then some of them weren't getting it, and so she didn't tell them which one was right, which one was wrong. And then once again, she had them regroup, and then she showed them the results. So talk about being in there with the students and having them self-analyze, like, okay, did I do this problem right? Or what, am I right? Am I wrong? And then the kids were collaborating very, very nicely. So let me go back and present really quick. And this is the power of tracking that data through Nearpod. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, we can see your
All
screen.
right, awesome. Okay, so this is one type of report that after you finish your Nearpod, you can end the session, you run your report, and then it emails it to you. So you're able to see the participation, how the quizzes were, everything that there, the name of the students. And so here you're going to see, okay, you know what, this student and this student right here, and this student right here, okay, what's going on? And so you're able to see that data, and then you're able to go back and look at it through whatever everybody answered. Okay, so that's just like what it is there. So this was the quiz. So notice on problem number 1, everybody got it. Everybody got it the first time. Question number 2, we had a couple of people that were saying, that it was true, and actually it was false. And so now we're going over here and looking at all the questions, and the teacher's able to see who's on track, right? So that was the first one. And then after that, we went back, and now this is my poll number 2. This was the second poll. And now you can see that I have more students participating. It went from 80 something, right? It went from, go back over here real quick. It went from 83% to 97. So did we do a student growth here? Okay, our student progress, did we have an academic achievement? It just depends on the goal that you had. And so now the teacher is able to see, okay, you know what, this person here, okay, he didn't score too well the first time, but now he has 100. So now where am I going to need to, I need to go talk to Vanessa Dominguez. Why are we still looking at this as it being a true statement? And that's where we can have those conversations, just like Ms. Tucker was saying, where the student is able to tell you what they're thinking, that thinking process. And then at the end, you end up, coming up with the correct, decision, or the correct answer, however, whatever it is that you're talking about. So I find this to be very powerful with Nearpod. It's just not giving them an activity and just setting them down and say, here you go, have fun with the Nearpod, because it's going to be interactive. Does that make sense? So I know that was really, really fast and furious, but that's what we have for you today. So I don't know, we have time for questions. Like I said, the Bitly will give you a lot of resources.
We do have a minute, and I'm sure if you want to hang out for a couple of minutes after the session is over, you can still ask.
Lydia, you've used the Go Formative, right? The Go Formative, that's accessible to the district?
Yes. There was a free version on it. I'm not sure if we renewed the whole thing, but at least the basic one, I think it's free. And you're able to do so much with that. It's just, it's beautiful. It just starts your lesson, and it's just very linear, very strategic, and it opens your lesson for you, and you can actually close it. Perfect if you have homebound students, I believe. I would have used it for homebound, or just as a reteach, or just, something that the teacher can actually have them use if there's a substitute. There's a lot of ways that you can actually use a Go Formative. So I really like it. Can you tell?
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. And if you have any questions, just, email us, or, let us know. Okay.
You have access
to all
the
thank you.
The Bitly. Bye, everyone.